Hello fellow makers and welcome back to 3D Printed Soup. Now tragedy has occurred and my Elegoo Centauri carbon has had its first print failure. And this is probably my fault and I'll run you through actually what happened. Luckily I was filming this at the time and I thought, you know what, seeing as this is a new printer to me and some people it might even be their first printer, I'll run you through basically how the print failed, why the print failed, and what to do about a failed print, and also how to clean your printer up and basically make it ready for the next print so that you don't keep getting failure after failure, and the kind of things to look out for that may actually make a print fail. So let's get on and see why this failed and how it can be prevented and how you clean up afterwards. Let's give this a go. Now, as with most printers, this particular printer came loaded with all kinds of benches or benchmarks. These are STL files or sort of G-code files, in fact, you don't have to slice them, which are pre-sliced and pre-made in the printer. So you can basically just give them a print and it demonstrates to you pretty much how the print's going to work, and you can get a good idea of the kind of results you can get with a bit of effort and just knowing how things work and how to slice a file properly. The one I'm printing here is a scraper, but the one I was looking at was this one. This is the Elegoo the Buddha. It's a tiny little statuette of the Buddha himself. I'm sure he'd approve. And yep, everything started to fine. I clicked it, I chose it, it had all the preset settings already loaded in, and the print bed looked clean. So printer heats itself up as normal, does its usual sort of little calibration dance, but it doesn't auto level because I'd already auto leveled it a few prints ago. Print bed looks nice and shiny there, so there's nothing to worry about. And yeah, just waiting for the print to start as the hot end heats up and then starts printing. All seems fine so far. It's just drawing the edge of the print which will be adhering. But if you look a little bit closer here, not everything is good. If you look at the edge, you can just see some little wisps sticking up, and that's it not adhering to the print bed. Now there's several things that could happen here. It could be the print bed isn't hot enough, or the print bed is too hot. There's over extrusion or under extrusion. There's all kinds of things that could lead to this, and we need to do a little bit of investigation to find out what. But basically, if your first layer is going like this, you end up with this. You get that lovely spaghetti monster mess and all that little fluff, and everything goes over your hot end and it's a mess. So you stop your print, you take your print bed out, and the best thing to do is remove all of the plastic you can get off your fingernails or with a scraper, and then use this 99% isopropyl alcohol. Spread on, give it a scrub. I'd recommend wearing a mask and doing this in a well ventilated area because isopropyl alcohol vaporizes the moment it gets warm, which is why it's great, because it doesn't rust things, it doesn't damage electronics, it just cleans stuff off really well. I'm using a bit of kitchen towel here and just scrubbing it on to get rid of any grease or remainders of plastic on here. I'll then go over it with a dry one in a minute. With the build surface cleaned, we then return that to the print bed, and then we do automatic leveling. If you make any adjustments to your printer or you move things around, you take your magnetic bed off and put it back on again, it's good practice to give it a quick clean and also automatically level. This takes 20 minutes on this printer. 20 minutes. I'm hoping they do an update at some point because that just takes forever and I'm not going to show you it happening. There, it's now happened. So we've got a clean bed. We have got a clean build surface and we have got this all nicely leveled. Let's try printing again. Wait for it to heat up and the head should move any second and then we can start printing. Here we go. It does its usual journey around the build plate, and the build plate just gets itself level, ready for the hot end to start pouring the liquid plastic onto the build plate. And look, there is nothing coming out. That is a problem. Now that basically means we have got under extrusion because nothing is extruding. Underextrusion can be anything from basically not enough coming out to none at all. So I'm going to end this print in a second, and then we're going to have a bit of a further investigation and find out what has taken place here. Yeah, because look, there is absolutely nothing coming out here whatsoever, and yeah, it's just moving around of its own accord, and if it did suddenly clear, it ain't going to adhere to the bed. Right, so the first thing we check is we check the filament, and there you go, that's snapped off, but it snapped off inside the runoff sensor, so as far as it was concerned, it had filament. Now that was an old reel of filament, so I'm going to get rid of that, and we're going to try a new reel of filament. I've got a nice Elegoo filament here. Give it a pop. If it's filament, it should be airtight, so there's no air gets in there. As you saw, that went pop and suddenly it was no longer airtight. There's also silica gel in there. Throw that in the bin. Don't let your kids get it. Don't let your dog get it. It's poisonous. Now, we're going to take out the edge of the filament from the reel. It should still remain tight, so keep hold of it. Don't let it unravel, because you want it nice and tight and you want it nice and dry as well. It's been in plastic seal, so it should be absolutely airtight and watertight. Put it tight. Get your clippers. Cut it at a 45-degree angle. There we go. And then put the reel back on there, keeping it tight, not letting go of the end. Then feed that through into the filament out detector and push it until you feel it stop, because that means it's reached the end of the filament in there, or it's reached the hot end, whichever comes first. It ain't going to move anymore because there is no hot filament in there. You heat the nozzle up now, and what will happen is it will then heat up any remaining filament in the line and push it out. And once the line's clear, you can then insert your new filament in there and you can start printing again. There we go, complete. That's gone through, but there's still not a lot coming out. So just give it a little push until you get to the remainder of the filament in the tube there, and click retry, and it'll push more filament out. And you keep doing this until your new filament reaches the end of the hot end, and then it will start pouring the new filament out and all the old filament will be clear. Basically, to sum that up, keep clicking unload until all the filament from the old reel is gone, and then feed the new filament in, and it will then feed itself and push it out, and you'll be able to see the filament coming out the back into the bucket at the back. So yeah, we're just going to keep pushing this through until it stops feeding. Also, you know it's got hold of the new filament because the spool will start rotating. It's not rotating yet, so it hasn't got hold of the new filament. So just keep slowly pushing it in as the old filament is drawn out. Don't push it too hard because you don't want it to get jammed in there. You don't want it to snap. And there we go. It's got hold of the filament now because you can see the reel is slowly rotating. Perfect, so you're now pretty much set to try printing again. And now that we've got the filament correctly in there, we have got all the old filament out, we've got a clean bench, and look, there we go, that is the remains of the old filament pushed out into the bucket at the back. So yeah, that's all nicely cleared out. That's what was in the tube in the hot end, and that's probably why it was under extruding and failing. Right, let's give this a fourth try. Just lining itself up, and the print starts. Automatically you can see that it's a lot better. That has adhered straight away. There's a little bit of stray filament there, but that happens sometimes. That will get brushed away in a second when the hot end pushes against it. And yeah, it's going on nice and smooth. There we go, and that is a good first layer, and we should have no further problems. So yeah, make sure your filament is fairly clear. That old filament may have been slightly wet, which is why it was jamming in the hot end and under extruding. If it is, clear the hot end. If you're having problems with the filament adhering to the build plate, give it a scrub of isopropyl alcohol and then auto level your bed again. Just make sure that you've got a nice clean build surface for the filament to stick to. And in this case, that worked out fine. If these steps don't work, you can always check out my other videos on the subject. There's also loads of other fantastic, talented creators who've done videos on basically every kind of malfunction you could have on your 3D printer. But yeah, in this case, it was some old filament getting jammed in the tube and making the hot end under extrude. And now, as you can see, this is pulling along nicely and the filament is feeding into your machine and everything is grand. Thanks for watching 3D Printer Soup. Stay happy and safe. Keep printing.